Hello and welcome to another video. So today we are playing some Chimera in rotation. You don't see this deck very often, that's for sure. This is definitely an interesting one. So you've got Fall from Grace as a single, No Flare as a 2 of, Loki as a 1 of, and your rest of your cards are just interesting. So honestly, this deck has been great fun and it's really doing quite well. I mean, you don't expect a deck like this to really do well in normal metas, but in our current one, this is surprisingly good. You can pretty much ward up nicely. I mean, it is at a huge disadvantage against aggro-y type decks, so neutral blood and stuff like that are going to be a difficult matchup. That's bound to happen, but if you're looking to shake things up, I highly recommend playing this deck. Being able to drop Chimera and kill your opponent in a single turn always feels great, especially because it's worth the setup. It's not like some of those other OTKs where the setup is minimal and you really just have to like hope that you've got the right cards in the right spot. This one you really want to be able to plan out your spell boost early, get your Chimera as early as you can, set up your Loki and hopefully plan out the end of it. Otherwise you're really going for a more control orientated style where you're using Chimera to clear, get a little bit of damage, clear, get a little bit of damage, so on. So hopefully you guys enjoy it and we'll get right into the video. So first up is a Dragon matchup. Dragon presents an interesting option only because tilting at windmills can be a pain, but this deck has some nice counters to amulets which can work quite well in your favour and remove quite easily. We also start off with a pretty good hand. Chain of Calling is extremely important because it does guarantee a Chimera draw because you are running no other spell boost follower, so Chimera is the only card you can pull with that. And Insight is a perfect first turn setup, especially since we did just draw another Chimera, so wow, we can actually triple Chimera this, which is pretty crazy to think about. 3 Chimeras early on really set you up into a more grinder deck than into a OTK variant. It's really got those couple of options, so you really want to know what cards you've got to what cards you want to push. So I do decide to throw a Golem Assault only so I can boost the Chimeras. I mean, keeping track of the spell boost is going to be important here, so we will just kind of keep an eye on that as we go. Chimeras by default have 3 damage, so once you add in the current spell boosts, it is at 7, 6, and 5, which is great.
This song's for you.
And we're only going to get a lot more from there. I mean, we've got some good turns to go, and removing these shouldn't be a big problem.
I won't let you harm Mr. Dragon.
Our opponent doesn't really present us with much, although I do only want to play Rite of Exorcism as a 3 drop. There's no point using it as a 5 at this point. And I need to use it early to remove that card anyway, so no point saving it for a tilting. Not with the current hand we have. So Saha into a Saha really isn't great. It's a kind of last ditch effort for them. It's an odd one for sure. I do decide to stack a hand. After all, we have 3 Chimeras, so really not concerned with discarding a Loki here, just because I can use these Chimeras to their fullest advantage. And we have another Rite of Exorcism, meaning we can actually remove that tilting at windmills freely. But as far as things stand right this moment, going for a full Conjuring play was what I felt was best, although now looking back on it, I think going for Rite of Exorcism and removing tilting immediately would have been the better play to start with, just because I could have still thrown one of these golems out and traded it into the Isra. Not the Isra, the Saha, which would have been fine. Especially since I know they have another Saha in hand, it was a real risk to just not clear that. But hindsight's 2020, when I was in the game, I was more focused on just building my board and setting up as many followers as I could using spell boosts to get those Chimeras up as high as possible, which did end up working out quite well because all the Chimeras are now at a reasonable level. Missile is perfect, but Fiery Embrace just works a little bit nicer. I mean, we did basically just spend our entire hand.
Shall I grant your fragile dreams?
Queen of the Dread Sea coming down a little bit late. I mean, they wanted it really with that tilting at windmills, so it kind of sucks that I ended up removing it right away for them, so they couldn't take advantage of it. But we are in a little bit of an advantage. I mean, this Chimera here is going to completely annihilate this board. Although the Ouroboros is a problem, we really need our turns to line up nicely against them. If only I had one more spell boost. That's all I was missing, just one. So of course the Ouroboros is something we're going to see played pretty much every single turn here, which is what I'm kind of banking on. I should just have enough to survive this perfectly. I did debate on going with the Loki that turn and then playing it next turn, but it worked out well anyway, so it's all fine. I mean, they don't have an evolve point where we do, so we can actually take advantage of the evolve where they can't, so either way, we're actually in a really good spot. Well, guaranteed lethal really, but it worked out quite nicely.
This victory is a testament to
So as you saw in the last game, setting up the long game is sometimes what you want to be able to do. After all, we spent 3 turns going for our lethal and it ended up working out. It was a little bit risky because they could have potentially flooded the board a little bit and it would have made it a little bit harder, but I think overall we had the right choices and we made the right decisions and had some pretty good trades. So I do decide to keep the Loki early. We do only run one of it, so getting Chimera is a lot easier than getting Loki, so sometimes I do like to keep that, and we happen to draw Chimera off the top as well, so honestly this hand ended up being perfect. I mean, now it's just a matter of controlling the board and spell boosting until we can drop that Chimera. So the Silent Laboratory, not too bad. We can basically counter that with the Conjure Golem, and a Magic Missile Insight play next turn wouldn't go astray. I mean, we're not really focused on drawing too much now, we're just kind of got to keep the board afloat, while at the same time boosting this Chimera as high as possible. And a second Chimera. Well, not the best card to draw right now, it's definitely not bad. And double Piercing Rune, so double Piercing Rune is a little bit of a letdown. I would have preferred if I could have got a lower drop, but I can still use those reasonably well. I mean, I can't use them this turn because my opponent didn't really make any play, but it's also not the worst thing in the world to have to deal with, so not bad at all. Nova Flare, don't really have any reason to play it. Nothing on board to use it against, and I just don't really want to waste it in this matchup because I know they can run some low drops. Finally get to see the Levi though, which Fiery Embrace takes care of very, very quickly. So our spell boost count right now should be pretty reasonable. I mean, we're at 9 on the Chimera, which is 18 with Loki. So really this turn is the turn we want to be able to start throwing out some really good cards, boosting up as much as we can. So we have got no TK already right now. I mean, Chimera's now got 8 spell boost plus 3, so 11 total. With Loki, that is really good. Although the problem is I have to be able to remove the next cards that come down, so I really need the spell boost to be slightly higher.
The games of gods begin.
So Loki is fine to play because we don't actually run any other fanfare effects, meaning that no matter what we play here, Chimera is the only thing that can take advantage of Loki's effect. Which works out really, really nicely. Because Loki does get to stick around as well, which means it's forced to be removed. It's got to be hit. And they do a pretty good job at it. So this is a hand that I had to really decide. I was going to go with the Chimera, but it wouldn't have been enough to remove everything and get lethal. So I decided to set up another turn of just damage-wise and go for lethal next turn. Although this does put me at risk of a combination of Halo Golem and Levi, I didn't really have a choice in where to go with this.
I am a fiction and a falsehood.
This was probably the optimal play that I could have made last turn to really set stuff up. Plus, not leaving something on board for my opponent to gain health from worked out really, really well in my favour. So, a 14 damage Chimera is 28 total damage, 8 of which went to board, and the rest goes straight to the face.
Looks like Yuwan.
So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. You can find this deck list in the description below, and I recommend you give it a go. So, till next time, see ya.